right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today. Good news for GoodVito fans. You will be seeing GoodVito on stage this weekend at the Arnold Classic South America. His name, Vitaly Ugonikov, has officially been added to the Arnold Classic competitor list. And then he also reposted it on his story, tagging the Arnold Classic South America and reiterating the fact that he is doing the show. I know there was a lot of people yesterday that were a little bit disappointed when that list came out to see his name not on it, and also disappointed by the fact that there was really only about half a dozen names on that list, most of which most people outside of Brazil, even hardcore bodybuilding fans, did not recognize. So we will be getting to see the preview of GoodVito at 5 weeks before his Pittsburgh Pro appearance, and hopefully we'll be getting to see the first professional victory of GoodVito's and the early Olympia qualification for the 2025 Mr. Olympia, which will be, if he makes it, his Olympia debut. Now, he also posted some footage on his story training with, interestingly enough, Ramon Dino. But maybe not that surprising since they both do share the same coach. But I think realistically, going into this weekend show, there's a very strong possibility that we're going to see GoodVito win, get his Olympia qualification, and come in with some good momentum to Pittsburgh, and I think with a little bit less stress for him going into Pittsburgh, hopefully knowing that he's already got his ticket to the Olympia. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about GoodVito's chances this weekend. And if you guys are a Brazilian fan, or maybe even just a fan from anywhere, are there any names in this lineup that really stand out to you? I mean, like I said, Leandro Perez is one of the guys that I'm familiar with, and I think he's a pretty good bodybuilder. But for the most part, not any names that are really that recognizable to anybody outside of Brazil. No top Olympians. No guys here that I know of that have won a pro show either, which is another reason why I think GoodVito has a good chance here. Now, next up in the news, one guy that stands in GoodVito's way in 5.5 weeks at Pittsburgh is going to be Derek Lunsford, who just posted a physique update on his story where I think he looks pretty crazy. Because not only is it a physique update, it's a comparison point update of 6 weeks out from the Arnold Classic this year that he just won, arguably bringing one of, if not his best package ever to that stage, and comparing that to the 6-week out point for the Pittsburgh Pro, which would have been this past weekend, this past Saturday. And I think most of you guys looking at this would agree with the analysis that Derek looks significantly tighter in the Pittsburgh Pro 6-week out comparison point than he does at the Arnold Classic 6-week out point, which is pretty dangerous to think about for the other competitors in Pittsburgh, because I think that was one of the big reasons why Derek won the Arnold Classic. He was 100% on when it came to his condition. He did not fade. He did not lose it. If anything, his conditioning got better as the show went on, and Samson kind of had the opposite effect, and that's why Samson lost. But, I mean, if you look at the lower body here, you can see significantly more detail in the hamstrings, significantly more detail in the glutes, and it's the same. It looks like it's the same room. Maybe, I guess the floor is different, but the blinds behind him and the wall behind him look like the same wall. But the hamstrings, the glutes, even the calves, you can see more detail. And the upper body, it's a little bit harder to tell, but you can see a little bit more clear definition there. And I don't think this is just a difference of lighting or a difference of angle. I believe this is the same room that this was taken in the same spot. Maybe he just changed his floors in the last month or so, which wouldn't be that surprising considering he just won $500,000 at the Arnold Classic. So he's got a little bit of spending money when it comes to home renovations. But I would imagine that if you're a bodybuilder competing in the Pittsburgh Pro and you're hoping to get your Olympia qualification there, and now you know Derek Lunsford is doing that show, you're probably not too happy looking at these updates. I would imagine you're thinking about, okay, what shows are pretty close afterwards? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this latest update from Derek going into the Pittsburgh show. Now, next up in the news, another guy that I think most of us expect to be in that conversation at the Pittsburgh Pro for a top spot, likely top 3, or maybe even a win, since that's his plan. Nick Walker posting 2 more physique updates today, both a most muscular and a side chest. And I mentioned in the last video when I was talking about Nick Walker's recent update yesterday about the back double bicep, how his back double is one of my favorite in the league right now. I would argue his side chest is one of the best in the league right now. Nick Walker's side shots, just the thickness he shows just all around from the side. I think that's a great shot for him. And I mean, even in the lower body, look at the amount of detail that you can see in the hamstrings and quads. Matched with the fullness of his legs in that shot and the fullness of his upper body. It's a dangerous pose for him, as well as obviously the most muscular, which was also in this post. I'm definitely not counting out Nick Walker just yet. I just think that Derek doing this show really throws a pretty massive wrench into most other bodybuilders' plans to win the Pittsburgh Pro. Martin said he's winning it, Nick said he's winning it, and both of them said that before Derek announced he was doing it. And I think Derek actually committing to this show really does change the narrative a little bit. Actually, I think it changes it a lot. Because it feels like just a couple weeks ago, the conversation really was Nick versus Martin and maybe GoodVito for the win at Pittsburgh. And now it kind of feels like, knowing Derek is doing it, it kind of feels like who's coming in second. And obviously that's not a guarantee. Anything could happen in bodybuilding, but it does kind of feel like Derek has got this locked down unless, something drastically happens where he's super off. But like I said, looking at that update earlier from Derek, it's hard to think he's going to look worse than the Arnold when he already looks significantly tighter at this point in his prep. Now, next up in the news, let's get to the messier part of this video and probably the reason why a lot of you guys clicked it. I think it's important that if we're going to call out somebody for making a statement or for an opinion that they had or for a bad take, we also have to cover the fact that they retract it and apologize. So that's the case here with Tim Wilkins. Tim Wilkins put out a video where he kind of explained his reasoning and what his position was and the message he was trying to communicate when it comes to the Sam Sulek thing. So let me play that clip, and then I will give you guys my opinion.
Hey guys, Tim Wilkins. I had a video come out last week, and I took a lot of heat for it, and deservedly so. I'm very grateful to work for an organization in a time that lets me have opinions and lets me express those opinions freely, but it doesn't give me license to be rude or unprofessional, and looking back, I'm pretty sure I was both of those. A lot of you that commented across the various platforms called me old, and you are very correct. I'm closer to 60 than 40. I've worked very hard to get where I am in this sport, and with that comes wisdom and experience. I'll save you the wisdom, but I'll share with you some of my experience with an unhealthy bodybuilding lifestyle, and that was sitting at the bedside of my 25-year-old training partner after his first heart attack. Over the next 30-plus years, it's been more friends, more heart attacks, the phone calls that come in that say, bro, he's gone, and it's always the word followed by the words too soon and so young. And like a lot of my peers and my people in my age group that commented and weren't pleased with what I had to say, I had my turn in that hospital bed hooked to the heart monitors. And you've been there, fellas. You know what it's like. We're living in an age where we look out for each other. We always have in the gym community. If you see a guy with 315 on his chest, you lift it off. If someone asks you advice in the gym, you give it to them. We have to be good mentors. We also live in an era that I totally understand is filled with influencers. And I hope you're all striving to be a good influence. And I hope the OGs and old heads of the world will call out those guys that they feel are putting out a bad influence and not growing the sport in a positive way. It's very important that we all look after each other, and it's very important that the younger guys understand that this is going to take time. There are extreme spots in this sport. There are things that guys at the elite level do. We understand that. I'm not naive to that. There are guys out there that are pushing it to the limit, and things happen, and it's awful. But this is the kids, the younger people that are seeing this. This is not how you start the sport. You have to understand that this sport takes time. The true pros have mature muscle, and you don't get that any other way than time and grinding away, and most important, eating right. Now that said, I'll give you one of the greatest quotes from someone I followed for over 25 years, who's one of the most respected guys in the business. That's John Romano, who wrote an article for Muscle and Fitness, and the title of that article was, "Patience is the most powerful drug in bodybuilding." Be safe, everybody.
So like I said in the original video where I reacted to the original clip that they had posted, here was the issue that I had with it. I think A, Sam Sulek just did nothing wrong. I think B was the hypocrisy aspect of it. And C, I do agree with the general message that he's trying to make about bodybuilding being an unhealthy lifestyle. It is, and I think that's something we need to talk about. And also, if you're going to be a fan of bodybuilding, a bodybuilding pundit, commentator, if you're going to talk about bodybuilding, whatever, I feel like it's just kind of something you have to accept. And certainly, I think if you want to talk about the dangers of it, talk about them as much as you want. But again, I just don't think it pertains to Sam Sulek at all, and I'll tell you guys why. There was a couple interesting things that I was thinking about when I watched that original video. And one of the things was when he referenced Sam should have a talk with Jay Cutler and Phil Heath so they can steer him in the right direction, implying that Sam is doing something wrong. All that Sam has done is he's 23, he got his pro card, and he has a YouTube channel, and he's extremely popular. That's all he's done. So what I was thinking about was the fact that Jay Cutler turned pro at 23. Phil Heath turned pro at 27. Arnold Schwarzenegger turned pro at 20, younger than Sam. Sean Ray turned pro at 22, younger than Sam. Lee Haney, tied with Ronnie Coleman for the record of Olympia titles, turned pro at the age of 20, 3 years younger than Sam. Brandon Curry turned pro at the age of 25, a couple years older than Sam was. Derek Lunsford, the guy that we just talked about in this video, also turned pro at the age of 23, the same age as Sam. So that's the hypocrisy aspect of it that I'm talking about here is on the Olympia platform as a spokesperson for the Olympia, a pundit, a commentator, a MC for the show, to say that Sam is garbage for doing the exact same thing that multiple Olympia champions have done, literally the faces of the organization that you represent, and the only difference is, back when they did it, well, at least in some of their cases, maybe not Derek or Brandon, but back when they did it, there wasn't YouTube. There wasn't social media. They didn't have the option of having a massive online following on a social media platform. That's the only difference between them and Sam. Let's not sit here and pretend that they did that naturally. Let's not pretend they didn't take gear. Let's not pretend that they did that in a super healthy way, winning Olympia titles and turning pro in their early 20s. So my point just is, if you're going to call Sam garbage, you also have to call all of them garbage, which they're not. But then in the next breath, after calling Sam garbage, he tells Sam to seek advice from two guys that did the same thing as Sam. But I don't want to harp on the guy too much. Like I said, I don't believe he should be canceled. I don't believe he should lose his job. And in fact, it kind of felt like this apology video was maybe forced by his job. But I think the apology was good. The acknowledgement was good. The retraction was good. I mean, he did say he apologizes to Sam. He apologizes to Sam's fans as well. And I think overall, he had a good takeaway from the reaction to what he said. And I just feel like the disrespect or the anger or whatever he was feeling towards Sam in that moment was totally misguided and just it kind of gave me the impression that maybe he's never even watched one of Sam's videos. That was kind of the impression that I got from that, because he was talking as if Sam is encouraging drug use. Sam is constantly talking about drugs. It just kind of felt like, here's a young guy that's on gear, that achieved a lot in a very short amount of time, something that Tim had not achieved, and he's twice Sam's age. I'm going to blast him because I think he's a bad influence to young kids, because he is a young kid and he has social media that goes out to younger kids. It just felt very misguided and out of touch, but I'm glad that the apology came. Although, to be honest, I think that Sam probably doesn't really care either way. I bet Sam didn't even watch that video, to be honest. But I think that's the takeaway that I would leave a lot of you guys with, that is mostly my opinion on the Sam thing. It's just that Sam did nothing different than almost any bodybuilder, I should say, than a lot of bodybuilders that won the Olympia, represent the Olympia, are ambassadors for the Olympia. Nothing different than them when it comes to turning pro. And in some cases, they turned pro much younger than he did. And again, we're all adults here. We can all assume that none of them did it naturally, and I don't think any of them claim to. The only difference between them turning pro and Sam turning pro is Sam has a big audience, and I'm sure if they had the option back then, especially somebody like Lee Haney, an 8-time champ, I'm sure if YouTube existed back then, he would have had a massive following, or any social media, whatever. And all those names that I just mentioned that turned pro at an early age, that were top Olympians or Olympia champions, that doesn't even come close to the tip of the iceberg of every single competitor that has earned a pro card at a very young age, chasing down an Olympia title. So to speak from the Olympia platform and say, you're garbage, essentially for turning pro young and doing the things required to turn pro young, which is what tons of people do to try to get to the Olympia, tons of people have done at the Olympia. The argument doesn't make sense to me. But like I said, the message he's trying to send, I agree with. He talks about losing a lot of his friends at a young age to an unhealthy bodybuilding lifestyle. And even to that point, we assume Sam is on gear. I think we all would agree he's not natural. We don't even know what Sam is doing. We don't know what Sam's cycle is. We don't know exactly what he took to get this pro card. We don't even know how good or bad or how unhealthy or healthy it is. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Tim Wilkins' apology. This video is already going on a little bit longer than I wanted it to. I wanted this to just be kind of a quicker one. Didn't want to go on too long of a Sam Sulek glazing session, but it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.